How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's CHSB. It's currently the 2nd of October 2021. Welcome to the weekend. So we've had some fantastic movement. I'll go into everything in a second. Bitcoin, CHSB. I'll go over ENJIN as well. ENJIN, which is looking mighty strong. Before I carry on, just a very quick update on Patreon. I'm going to be uploading some of the videos onto Patreon today. Once it's all up there, there will be, because what I want to do is I want to put some content on there first, because the whole point of Patreon is to basically be able to engage with the community that's going to be on there. So we'll be having live sessions. I'll be doing live analysis, all that sort of stuff. But obviously there's going to be a lot of educational content on there as well. But it's a progressive educational content. It's not, I don't want people to think that they're going to jump on Patreon and there's just going to be thousands of videos. It's not the way it is. It has to be a progressive, interactive process, where you learn some stuff, you go through some live analysis, then we do some live sessions, and we're talking, you're asking questions, we're going through the whole kind of process and dynamic. It's really, really cool. You'll see. But I'm going to be posting loads of videos on there today just to kind of get things rolling. And then it will just be like a reoccurring, pretty much almost daily dose, of LSP, as they say. All right. So, with all of that said, as always, if you are enjoying the content, like, subscribe, and then we'll get into the analysis. Now, obviously, we've had some very, very nice movement on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, obviously, regardless of whether the correlation between Bitcoin and everything else, is slowly sort of dissipating. The bottom line is Bitcoin still does control, a good portion of the momentum in the overall market. So with that said, when Bitcoin pops or when Bitcoin shows some strength, generally, we see that across the board, and we've seen some, some decent movement. Let me just pop over to the weekly for a second. This is a fantastic reversal per se. Yeah, I'm not going to say 100% it's reversed, but as we can see, and what I like to do is, is I like to kind of start from previous moves and get up to this point, just to kind of give you guys the flow of how things are going. But during this consolidation here, when we have to remember as well. This is really important. While all of this is, while everything's happening and unfolding, you have to remember in the moment what it feels like, what people were saying, what the news was saying, what news came out, what affected, the asset class that you're looking at. So when you arrive at where you are now, in the future, yeah. So for example, while all of this was going on just here, and Bitcoin was bouncing around between 50,000 and 60,000. A little bit higher, we have to remember what was going on here, okay, that created this, because we were seeing numbers like 77,000, 100,000. It was being plastered all over social media, in Clubhouse, and lots of various places like Twitter, Facebook, and so on, YouTube, to the moon, all this, all this sort of stuff. And then obviously, boom. So we track that, we remember this, yeah. So now when we come to this point, we can say, okay, all of that happened here after, we get this really sharp drop in price, kind of does its thing here. We get a really nice upward movement, comes down, picks up liquidity, and then we've had a nice reversal week just here. So this week has effectively negated this one. When we start to reapproach this area, we're going to have to start to pay attention to the rhetoric that starts to come out, the news that starts to come out, what's changed from then till now, in terms of how Bitcoin is being accepted throughout the world, and so on, because then that gives us more indication as to whether or not this reversal and potential up move now going into the remaining liquidity up here, okay, from this point upwards, yeah, is going to be traded through comfortably, yeah. So we've had a nice run, pullback, picked up liquidity. Very, very nice strong week. We can see this clearly on the daily chart, which looks fantastic. Very strong. This is rebalanced completely, so there's nothing over here of any interest. There's a couple of things. The first thing being, don't really need the numbers, so I'll stick it there. The first thing being, obviously all-time highs after this point, so the most important area is effectively this here now. Yeah, so above here, because you can see price came up, almost tagged it, but didn't quite get over this high. There's an imbalance over here. There's plenty of liquidity here, which I've spoken about previously. Let me just extend this a little, and I'll shift that across as well. This is key for us to get above, obviously, the black line. And for those that don't know, if I ever draw a black line, make it thick, that's the line in the sand. This is what we need to get past. Not the line in the sand, sorry. This is the key area that we need to get past to really shift momentum. Yeah, because as it stands right now, as much as this is a very strong move, the possibility is still there that it gets reversed. It's unlikely, but until we get through this level right here, around about 53,000 or so, 53,000, then any chance of moving, with momentum into the 60,000s and 65,000, plus, is unlikely. Yeah, so we need to get above this. The move itself, we drop down to the 4 hour. This is very strong, and you can see this is a very, very nice giveaway as well. We've had a pop here, price stabilized a little, had another pop, and then a pop again, and again price is stabilizing. It is possible, obviously, we dip into this a little bit, but like I said, with the momentum of this move and the way it's happening, it's very unlikely that price is going to come, down and then reverse, and it would require something of a pretty significant magnitude to push Bitcoin, lower again. I don't see this as a bull trap. I think this is a very, very strong move. I think this is going to continue. A lot of alts have responded to this nicely. So there's a lot of liquidity above here now, and a build up just above here, and obviously we have all of this over here that it needs to kind of grind through. So looking good for the 50s, 51, 52, going into the remainder of the weekend and possibly into the first half of next week. I'm not saying that it's going to do that this weekend. I'm not saying it's going to do it definitely next week. But I would expect some follow through on Bitcoin, and the key levels, as I've already noted, is around here. Let's say from 50,000 to around about 52,000 key levels. I'm going to get rid of this now because we don't need it. The liquidity down here I'm going to leave because it's still remaining, so we'll leave that. In terms of upside, I would say we've already made a note of this one. I would say there's a very clean area here. Oh, for goodness sake. Very clean area just up here. Okay, so this will be the next phase after we get through this. Okay, and again, there'll be another process. If it gets through, for example, then it grinds and it maybe dips back in and blah 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 blah, and then when that happens, this will be the next area that we're going to be grinding towards. But just a very quick reminder, as I was saying in the Discord chat over at Swissborg, the last week of September, first week of October is generally a very good month, for assets, markets, in general. So I'm expecting more volumes to come into the market now. October and November are the best months of the year, period. I've always made more money in October and November. And I'll say it a little bit differently. I've always found it easier, to get the movement that I need to make the same amount of money, in October and November as I do throughout the remainder of the year. Okay, but things just happen quicker. Things happen easier, because there's more volumes in the market, there's more participants, there's a lot more stuff going on, and then it starts to kind of wind down towards Christmas. But the next couple of months are going to be pretty interesting. So that's your Bitcoin. CHSB, again, I did make a mention of this kind of gap up and then another gap up, and there's a couple of things, right? The first thing is, it is possible. Somebody mentioned this, I think it was Ken Doken, and he's quite right. It is possible that because this is calculated by TradingView, obviously we get these skips because when you drop down to the 4 hour chart, you can clearly see that it's just not there. Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. It was interesting when I first looked at it. It's something that I've looked into. I've gone down to the lower time frames. There's nothing there of interest. There's nothing that really makes me think, wow, it's just normal price behavior. I think it's just a byproduct of being calculated by TradingView. I really don't think it's of interest, at least the way that I was thinking about it anyway. So it's pointless even going into it. And you can see with HitBTC with Bitfinex, on both, although the volumes here are all insane and whatever else, if we just look at this last chunk of movement here, we see that on Bitfinex, say for example, that that pop just there as price closed here, you know, and then opened up here. Yeah, this is a volume issue, yeah, or lack of volume. Whereas when we look at the calculated by trading view, we don't normally get this, but I think in this particular case, I think it's just a function of calculated by trading view. So I'm not really, I'm not really that bothered too much about it. I don't think it really matters, and I will quickly say as well, because somebody asked me this recently, gaps don't always get filled. Yeah. This is a stock related question that he asked me about US equities. It was a tech stock, but I said no, gaps don't always get filled. You've got to be very careful when you believe that gaps always get filled. So we can just ignore this effectively, right? And that comment was for the person, obviously, just to kind of reinforce that, because I know he watches the videos. So going forward, again, what I really want to emphasize with CHSB, okay, as I said in the Smart Talk, the last couple of Smart Talks, I was discussing CHSB, not really listening to anything at the minute. Doesn't give a shit what Bitcoin's doing, doesn't really care what the rest of the market's doing, because the AMA is coming up. So we've had a little bit of, byproduct information, not byproduct. We've had a little bit of, movement on CHSB based on the strength of Bitcoin, but that's just a byproduct of the strength of Bitcoin. CHSB needs an injection of volatility, as I've said, right? And I'm going to continue to maintain that. Believe it or not, Swissborg's chart is basically neutral. CHSB isn't really doing anything because of this AMA. It's great that it's gone up. It's great that it's giving a little bit more momentum, to the upside, and it's good that it's kind of hovering, around 70 again, 68, 69, 70. But as I've mentioned in the previous video, I do not want to see CHSB run before the AMA. Yeah. I prefer it just stay where it is, yeah, and just react during the AMA, yeah, or after the AMA, okay, because you filter all the crap out. When it starts to run before, people front run the AMA, it pushes, they expect that price is going to continue. It is a gamble, obviously, and I would never suggest anybody do this. They just basically jump in expecting the AMA to push price, and then when it does, they dump in and make some money, right? It is a viable trading strategy, if you use it correctly, but for me, we're not, I know pretty much 99% of the people that I know that are in CHSB are in it because they're invested in CHSB, they're invested in Swissborg, and they expect this to be a very long process, with many benefits along the way. Whereas people are just looking for a quick hit, these guys or girls, that, like I said, it is an effective trading strategy, but because of the people that I know aren't interested in doing that, it doesn't mean that other people aren't. There's plenty of people out there that will try to front run the AMA, and I prefer that it doesn't happen. I prefer that price just sits here, and AMA comes out, people do whatever they're going to do, and then we get a truer indication of what is, of what Swissborg wants to do and what CHSB is doing, and we can look at the two and say, okay, AMA information, Swissborg's price behavior, fantastic. It kind of makes sense. So no front running, don't want to see it happen. Going forward, again, price is neutral. It's just a neutral chart. And you can see the very muted. I mean, look, if we look at the difference between Bitcoin's explosive move, forget the fact that Bitcoin is very expensive relative to CHSB, obviously 47,000, 68 cents. I mean, the disparity is insane, and it's massive. But putting that aside, it still doesn't change the fact that this is a nice, because remember, it's not just this. It started here, okay, and we had a really nice move to the upside. This is very, very good. This is very strong. You can see the momentum increase as price is going up. CHSB is quite muted. It responded a little bit, but it kind of just went back to where where it's been before. The pullback wasn't. You have to take the whole area of price action as a whole, yeah, not just this little run up. Take the whole section right here, which is what? It's a consolidation and it's going sideways. That's it. It's not really doing anything. So it is dependent on AMA. We are waiting for the AMA. There's nothing. Obviously, I went through all of this in the Smart Talk, but there's nothing I'm seeing that's of any of great significance. For now, it's AMA related. We're patient. We wait. And we see what happens with that. But obviously, it doesn't change the 197 level that I'm expecting. and, and that has become like the number to, for my focus anyway. So yeah, not a great deal to talk about on CHSB. Absolutely looking forward to the AMA, can't wait. And all being well, I should be there. So if anybody's going to that, you should see me there. Anything changes, obviously, I'll let you guys know. An ENJ for our good man Ben. Fantastic. Really, really like this. Responded beautifully away from this. Let me go over to the weekly for a second. We are effectively, it is slightly higher relative to Bitcoin in the way. Bitcoin, sorry, said it wrong. Bitcoin, it has ran a little bit more than ENJIN did, and I always try to keep an eye on correlations, and make a note of the ones that I feel will correlate, and then I track those going forward. But with ENJ, it's a little bit more muted relative to the Bitcoin volatility, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a really nice move. Area of liquidity, price came all the way down, not dissimilar to Bitcoin, and some of the tokens responded really nicely away from that. And if we go over to the daily, we can see we've cleared this high now. It would have been better if this low came a little bit lower to take out this and then reverse, but it still doesn't change the fact that this is a nice progressive momentum-based move to the upside. There is a little bit of an imbalance just here, but I think that's quite comfortably going to get tagged, and I would expect this nice chunk of price delivery just here. I'll have to take that tail just there. Nice level of price delivery just there, to be traded through. The fact that it's stabilizing up here, you can almost feel that secondary push to the upside. 160, 170, I feel is quite comfortable for ENJ. And then obviously we have the imbalances up here and the liquidity and all of this, all of this stuff. So we'll see how it responds to this level up here. I am quite confident that it's going to go there. I'm already in this anyway. As I said in the chat, me and my brother having a bit of a barney about it yesterday. It was quite funny. But very confident. Sorry, I'm just having a stretch. Very confident in ENJ. Very confident that it will go into this area. Already in. Don't need to do anything. So it's just a waiting game, but very strong. And is there anything else that I was looking at that may be of interest? Ethereum, obviously, again, very, very nice price response on Ethereum. This is great, obviously, for you miners out there. I'm absolutely loving it, to be honest. I don't believe that Ethereum is going to be hanging around these levels, for too long. The good thing about Ethereum is it has the potential to just ignore everything and just do whatever it wants. Right now it is correlated quite closely to Bitcoin and vice versa, because sometimes Bitcoin front runs Ethereum, and sometimes Ethereum front runs Bitcoin. But either way, they are still quite closely correlated. But obviously Bitcoin as the leader in quotations, effectively pulling and kind of moving the market as a whole. We know that that's the case anyway. Whereas with Ethereum, even though it follows Bitcoin quite closely, it has the ability to just say, listen, we're not interested today, we need to do this, and off it goes, and it could quite easily just rip to the upside to say 5,000 for argument's sake, while Bitcoin just sits flat. Yeah, and that's what's very interesting with Ethereum. But the weekly reversal here, I like the fact that this came very deep, very, very deep, rebalanced, reversed. And then on the daily we can see that that's again a nice progressive move to the upside. It's rebalanced. There's a little bit of liquidity here, so the next level is going to be in this area just here. That's the full liquidity pool, but we don't need it. We just do this, effectively just the body of the candle for now. And there is a secondary one up here, again of interest. But the one that I'm interested in the most right now is the first one just here. It isn't that far away, but if we clear this, we may get some stabilization here. It is possible, obviously, we dip a little bit as well, which is fine. If price wants to come a little bit lower, it really doesn't matter. 4 hour wise, yeah, so if price comes down, it's not going to make a difference to the upward momentum if it's true. If it's a true upward momentum, any pullback that happens on Ethereum, right, won't really make much of a difference in terms of pulling Ethereum down. It will just be another opportunity for price to accumulate, and then off it goes back to the upside, and that will be very clear when you see it. you know, because it won't be, you're generally only going to ever get two types of accumulation like that, and it will just be snaps down very quickly and reverses very quickly, which are the ones that I love the most because they give you so much information based on everything else that's happened, and they give me more confidence when I see these types of moves, you know. Or it just slowly grinds, you know, and then puts in a sort of low here for argument's sake, and then it just kind of grinds back up to the upside, takes out the high, and then continues on its merry way. Both are great. The first one's better, right? And that's about it for Ethereum. I don't think there's anything else I really want to discuss. Just some kind of, I know I've gone on for a little bit, but you know, we're seeing some great movement. You know, Bitcoin looks fantastic. You know, so as long as Bitcoin is doing its thing, the overall market space in general will kind of move along with it. And with that said, guys, you know, I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. There's nothing specific that I will say keep an eye on, you know, but expect some more movement. I'm confident to say expect some more movement to the upside. And with that said, have an awesome weekend, and I will catch you guys very soon. Take care.